Matt Aguilar here from ComicBook.com. Today I have the pleasure of speaking to the Prodigy, aka WWE NXT superstar Roxanne Perez. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for making the time. I know your schedule's crazy leading into Great
No
American Bash.
problem. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So yeah, speaking of Great American Bash is, one of those kind of fan favorite events. It always has been, kind of has that special place in wrestling fans' hearts. And we're coming up on that on July 30th. And you have a Weapons Wild match with Blair
Yeah.
Davenport. I feel like as the name and the image implies, it's going to be a crazy affair. It's going to be some hard hitting spots. I love the prominent trash can image right in the middle.
Yeah,
NXT
definitely
has
gonna
a
be some trash cans in there.
I feel like the relationship between NXT and trash cans is like synonymous, like they're well known. What can you kind of tell us about how you're approaching Davenport as an opponent, but also this type of match? Do you, kind of have to brace yourself, do anything special for matches that are this physical and sometimes, brutal in ways?
Yeah, I mean, I did have my fair share of no disqualifications on the independent scene, and then I have had a Weapons Wild match against Cora Jade uh last year, actually, in October. So I definitely feel like that gives me an advantage. Blair Davenport has never been in a Weapons Wild match. I have. So yeah, but I definitely think that Blair Davenport, I'm not gonna say is anymore, was taking me lightly because I don't know if you saw a grocery store fight, but I attacked her from behind, and yeah, I think I showed her a side of me that she didn't think I had, and maybe that I didn't know that I had either. But I'm definitely gonna show her who I really am this Sunday at the Great American Bash.
Well, and two, there was also a lot of bad blood during that Cora match, and I feel like there's also a lot of bad blood here, just with all the chaos that Davenport has caused. You bring up the fight, which was great, by the way. It's I feel like every so often we need a grocery store grocery store battle. Obviously, Booker T has been in one of the most famous versions of this type of thing. Number one, where did the idea come from to kind of do that whole segment? And also, did he have any tips to throw into that?
He definitely had some tips of what not to do. He said, I got jumped at a grocery store. Maybe you should jump her at a grocery store." But yeah, definitely was inspired by Booker T and Stone Cold. And that was just so cool to be able to relive and actually like firsthand do what I watched. I was not born at the time. I don't think that they actually aired that, but I did watch that like years back when I started becoming a wrestling fan, and so to be able to do that now, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta say the cart spot was A plus. Carts look like they hurt. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I mean they're steel, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely. And it's one of those things being in, NXT, especially at this time, it's kind of, I don't know, from the outside, it seems really cool and actually kind of different because you have so many, you've got Shawn Michaels, a legend, kind of running things up top. You have Booker T on commentary, and you guys already have such a great relationship from, your time in reality wrestling and all that. So also just all the crossover. There's been so much, movement between NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Does it
yeah.
does it kind of feel like that there as well? Is there kind of a different energy lately over the last few months?
Um, I I think so. I think it's so amazing that I grew up being trained by Booker T, and now I'm able to have him here with me, and I'm still learning from him. I still learn from him every single day. After all of my matches, like he comes to the back, and I'm like, "What did you think? What could I have done better?" And then learning from Shawn Michaels too, like the greatest of all time. Like who better to learn from than Shawn Michaels and Booker T? Like So to just have both of them there, and yeah, it's so cool having the crossover, and potentially being able to work with some of the main roster people before actually getting up there. Yeah, it's awesome, and I feel like everybody is so hungry now, and yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and you mentioned too a little bit earlier about kind of, Blair maybe um underappreciating like how much of a force you can be, and maybe kind of underestimating you in some senses. And even you mentioned it kind of during a promo as well, that like, is this kind of what you wanted, like that side of you to come out? Has that something you've kind of heard about over time since you've been with NXT, as far as like kind of pulling that edgier side out of you? Is that something you've thought about at all?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what this storyline is trying to get me to. I think I first got here and I was just so happy to be here. I knew who I was on the independent scene, and I think when I first got here, I was trying to figure out who exactly I was here in the WWE. And I think now that I've come into my own here in the WWE and know who I am, I think I know that you know I'm not an easy target, and I'm tired of people coming up to me and thinking that I am, such as people like Blair Davenport. And she attacked me right after I lost the NXT Women's Championship, and I think I don't even think she underestimated me. I think she specifically was trying to take me out because she knew without me being taken out, she would not get close to the NXT Women's Championship. So, but joke's on her because I'm about to take her out this Sunday.
Well, and one of the things about being part of something like WWE is all the crossover, and you've had two, I would say, pretty awesome milestones in the past maybe couple months. You're in a video game, so WWE 2K23, Roxanne Perez is now is in that, and then also now the other day, your first action figure
Yes.
got revealed. Look, I understand it's kind of like 1A and 1B probably. Which one though resonates more with you, as far as which is cooler, or are they both just amazing?
I think they're both so friggin' amazing because like I grew up playing the video games with like my mom and my uncles. And then I also grew up collecting action figures and playing with the action figures and being like, one day I'm gonna have my own. And to now like have both of those within like a year and a half of me being here is insane. But really, really cool. I think what is really going to be the craziest moment ever is when the action figures are actually out in stores and I go to the store and I see like my action figure there. I think that's going to be crazy. But yeah, I'm super grateful. But truly, I believe that hard work pays off.
No, absolutely. And one of the other things too is that when you were defending as champion, and then kind of the story segued to something it seems like you felt passionate about, with kind of tackling mental health and tackling like kind of removing some stigmas and things, because wrestling is full of them. So it always
Yeah.
feels like it's good to kind of take some of those away. Looking back on it now that there's some kind of space in between, how did you feel about how that all came together? Would you change anything? Would you have wanted to stay in that storyline maybe a little bit longer, or do you feel like it was kind of the perfect spot for it?
I would love to go on to continue with that. I feel like every now and then I'll kind of talk a little bit more about it. I did mention it in my promo with Blair Davenport about having to control my anxiety in for the show this Sunday, which is real because I actually do deal with anxiety. I've dealt with my fair share of mental health issues. I've dealt with depression growing up as a kid. So I think I've always wanted to somehow incorporate mental health into wrestling, and I never knew exactly how that would fit or how that would work, but I knew I wanted to do it. And so for Sean to allow me to incorporate that somehow was really important to me because just talking about mental health and the stigma, or like taking away the stigma around mental health, is so important to me. Just to let everybody know that regardless of if we're WWE superstars, we deal with the same struggles that they deal with, and if that can help them feel less alone, I would love to do that, because that's something that I needed growing up as a kid. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also one of those things too, to just like normalize it. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be this overblown thing. Like I like that continue to mention. I mean, I've struggled with depression in the past, and continue to. It's an ongoing thing, and a lot of
yeah,
it's genetics and family, and so you don't even have a choice. It's
yeah,
part of it.
exactly.
So it's awesome that it's kind of this just continued normal part, and people can
Yeah.
see that in their television screen. One of the things too, you've had a really, it feels like you've been part of NXT, for probably 3 or 4 years, with the kind of the amount you've crammed in into
Yeah.
just that. Because like you've also had, your first appearance on SmackDown. It wasn't crazy long ago when you were kind of there and really giving the Blue brand fans kind of that first real look at you being, and everyone came away with like super positive remarks. And as we move into Survivor Series season, that's hard to say. As we move into that, one of the things I loved about a couple of years ago was when NXT was a part of that. And it was
Yeah,
like this Raw, SmackDown, NXT thing. I thought that was one of the best Survivor Series in years. And I was just
I
so
agree.
glued. Do you, with it coming up around the corner, whether it's this year or maybe next year, would you want to see that brought back where NXT is a part of that again?
Of course, yeah, I agree with you of how that was like one of the best Survivor series. I think it's so cool to have, to also give like NXT that a little bit of a bigger platform too, and then just for all of us to be able to kind of work with each other. And I don't know, it just gives everybody that taste of Survivor series, and I think is awesome. So hopefully, I don't know yet, but hopefully we can be a part of that somehow. That would be awesome. But yeah, I think it's cool that I've been able to do a couple different things like that, like how you talked about SmackDown. I was able to make my Royal Rumble debut
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year, which was insane. Um, yeah, it's really cool. I remember a few months ago when I went down for SmackDown. I was asking Sami Zayn for some advice and on my match and whatnot. And he kind of was just telling me how he had the same experience where he was with NXT and he had like a couple debuts on the main roster, but was still with NXT. But that how much it can really like help you and give you an advantage from like having those experiences, but coming down here and still working on yourself, and then eventually when I do go up there, like I'll be ready. I'll just be ready to go.
Right. And we've seen, right, like how big a difference that can make.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that we're getting to see more of that cross. I'm kind of our main SmackDown coverage guy, and I love when like Carmelo pops up. It's like, oh, it's great. Oh, so I love
Yeah,
to see it.
yeah,
Um,
awesome.
Speaking of, so like we got Braun Breaker over here, just like calling out people and like calling out title matches and stuff. Like, hey, can you give me a title match? Seth Rollins shows up, right? Um, Everyone should be able to do that, right? So if you can call your shot, and have Asuka or Rhea Ripley come and on NXT, and you challenge for that title, who are you calling out?
Honestly, I think I would call out Asuka because I've never been able to step foot in the ring with Asuka. I'd love to test myself against Asuka. I have already gone up against Rhea, and that was a pretty tough one. So I think I'm gonna get in the ring and train a little bit more before I get in the ring with Rhea again. But I would love to get in the ring with Asuka. I respect her so much, and I've watched her like growing up as a kid, like studied her and everything. I think she's amazing. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, and I know I got to let you go here soon. One of the things your title reign kind of came to an unfortunate end. I feel like just because of a lot of outside factors, kind of things, some of it out of your control. um you know Now looking ahead, And obviously, call-ups, the draft just happened. Call-ups are always kind of feel like anyway a popular discussion. Before you move to a SmackDown or Raw, what are your kind of goals before you want to leave NXT? Is there, what's that thing that you feel like you want to accomplish before you leave?
I think I want to get my NXT Women's Championship back. I definitely want to become two-time NXT Women's Champion, and I think really solidify my reign, because I definitely feel like my reign was a little cut short, and I think how can I say this? I think when I first won the NXT Women's Championship, it was a big shock factor, especially to me. So I think I was very much kind of, like I said, I was still trying to find myself here. I think holding that NXT championship was a little not uncomfortable, but I think I needed to get really comfortable with the fact that, like, you know what? No, I am NXT Women's Champion, and I'm not surprised by it anymore. I think now, when I get my NXT Women's Championship back, I'm going to be a dominant champion, and I'm not going to be worried about, am I going to keep this title against Mako? Will I be able to keep it? I don't know. No, like, I am NXT Women's Championship, and no one's going to take this damn championship away from me.
Well, here, I can't wait to see that happen. I know it's going to happen at some point. So, all the best success. And of course, you can check out all of our coverage on Great American Bash right here on comicbook.com.